Hey, what's up, guys? I am just winding down the day, trying to kind of schedule for tomorrow. And I received a link this afternoon for another property. It's in the east side of Baltimore. And I don't know. I don't know for sure, but it looks like a big potential for us. And it got me to thinking about what I've been doing for the last couple months in regards to my business, in regards to, running a print company and then trying to manage the ins and outs of running that business, in my investment business, in life in general. But I thought about it today. I got an invitation from a gentleman down in Virginia in the Hampton Roads area. And is the same gentleman that I actually learned this strategy in real estate. And, I'm kind of traditional for the most part, as far as if you're trying to buy a house, if you're trying to invest in real estate, you're kind of trained to go to your bank. You try to qualify for a loan. And if you're like me, if you're an entrepreneur, if you are someone who's kind of, maybe let's say less than a 9-to-5 worker, someone who's out here grinding, we're out here trying to do what we can do, the best that we can do. We're always looking for alternative ways. We're always looking for another way to dive into the next investment, the next strategy of how to get there. So I'm going to rewind to about November of 2018. And I'm looking at the year. It was an awesome year as far as the print business. It was an awesome year for signage. It was a political year. As you guys will learn, I am a printer in the state of Maryland. I live in DC, but in this area, doing political printing is huge, but it's seasonal. So for 2018, which happened to be a political year, that was awesome for our business. We were, expanding like crazy. We brought in a flatbed printer, which allowed us to now print coroplast signs, yard signs, banners, all sorts of stuff. And it was awesome. And I'm getting to the end of 2018 thinking, man, I think I'm probably gonna have like this huge tax burden. So I started searching. And when I was out there searching, it was like, wow, there's a lot of information that came to me or that was presented to me in a traditional sense, a traditional CPA, a traditional accountant. And I love them. Don't get me wrong. I love my small business accountants, my small business CPAs. But I almost felt like they were not providing the information that I was looking for. And I started to think, what is it that I could do? Where can I find this information? So naturally, I went on the internet and I started doing a search for this and a search for that. And, I was searching for tax strategies. I was searching for how to not be as liable for my business income. So at the time, I was a LLC, and I was always told by my accountant, by attorneys I spoke with, that the LLC is the best thing for a small business. It provides you the asset protection. If a creditor or predator, is lurking, you can actually hide behind the LLC. And that's true as far as asset protection. That's not true as far as taxable liability. So I'm searching for all these terms. I'm searching to find out more. And I learned of a term called self-directed IRA. And so for most of my world, for most of the entrepreneur world, we're in a sense, we're not taught to, but we have this instinct that we need to make as much as we can. We can, try to grind as hard as we can and earn this money and earn this money. But what we weren't taught, because, no one ever schooled us on it, is that becomes ordinary income. That's taxable income. So my former CPA said, well, that's fine, Kris. Don't worry about that. We're going to go ahead and set up what's called a SEP IRA. And with a SEP IRA at the time, it was great because I could contribute to my own retirement, my own basically it's a self-employment IRA. I'm the single member of my company. I'm the single member of my LLC. And I can contribute up to 25% of my net earnings every tax year. And I thought it was awesome. I was like, cool, I can contribute up to 25% and I can hire, this custodian, whether it be, Wells Fargo or BB&T or Fidelity or whoever it is, and they can manage my retirement. I was like, that's freaking awesome. I can avoid the tax liability on that 25% of my net income. So I'm now only being taxed on 75%. And it sounded like a great strategy. And at the time, to me, it was. But end of 2018, I'm looking at saying, yeah, but now I have this huge burden. I'm being taxed on the federal level at 22% of my net earnings. And I got to figure out a way. And keep in mind, I'm not trying to avoid it. I'm not trying to avoid anything. I'm trying to be smart about how I run my business, how I run my entity. So I'm searching for the I'm searching for the SEP IRA, and I come across self-directed IRA. And my mind said, wow, self-directed IRA. So I started doing research, and as I'm doing research, I'm coming across, different channels on YouTube, different, groups inside of Facebook. And as I'm studying and I'm watching and I'm learning and trying to retain this information, I'm like, wow, self-directed IRA allows you as basically the owner, the entity who is the principal member of your company. It allows you to be able to take a percentage of your earned income, same way as the SEP that I just mentioned, the SEP IRA. You can take a percentage of your earned income. You can now contribute that to a self-directed IRA. It could be a Roth IRA. It could be a 401k. There's multiple options. I'm not a CPA or an attorney, so I don't want to advise you which one is best, but I would advise you to find the right retirement account for you to contribute to, because you can now be not only the custodian, but the check writer on your retirement account. So as I'm searching this information, I'm like, good grief, why did no one ever tell me this? Why am I sitting out here feeling like I'm like the lone person? And as I'm doing that, I'm like, what else? What else am I missing? What are other business owners? What are other, single member LLCs or S Corps or whoever it might be? What are they looking for that people aren't willing to share? So I came across a a guy he is in Utah and Arizona. He's a CPA. He's an attorney. He's actually written a few books. He does annual trainings a couple times a year. And so I started studying this, and my head, I'm sure many of you are on Facebook. There's the emoji where you can actually put a picture of yourself, and the Facebook app actually, converts that into this caricature of yourself. And it has this one where the head kind of separates. And, this bomb went off. And as I'm watching it, I'm like, good grief. The information this guy was explaining was, so valuable. He was explaining to me how if I were to take my same SEP, that I talked about. So I was able to contribute to my SEP IRA, where I thought I was actually winning because of that. But the SEP IRA is actually pre-taxed at, I think it's like 15.3%. So let me rewind. So let's just say, if you're in business and your net income, your take-home income is $100,000, right? Not bad. You're doing, $100,000 net profit. So I was explained by my former CPA that by creating this SEP IRA would be awesome, because now I can contribute up to 25%, which would be an equivalent to $25,000. I can contribute that money to my SEP IRA. And I'm like, well, okay, great. Then I can take that and I can hire a custodian or, whatever to manage it. And they'll make investments in stocks and bonds and mutual funds and whatever. I've heard the term, I've heard the phrases, but I didn't pay much attention. I know what stocks are, of course, bonds, mutual funds, all these other things. It's typical terms on Wall Street, but I'm a small business guy on Main Street, and I'm just learning how to do what I do. But I did understand that I could avoid the taxable liability of 25% of my net earnings by contributing this amount to a retirement account. So it sounded great. And as I'm researching back in November of 2018, I learned of this self-directed, and it's like, wow. So not only could I contribute to my retirement, but I could actually be the custodian, which is the manager, the person who oversees my retirement. But I could actually be the check writer. So I could actually be the individual that makes those investments on behalf of my retirement. And like I said, the Facebook emoji just like, boom, to me, it exploded. It was like, wow, how do I do this? How fast can I get this started? What do I need to do? And it was pretty simple to do. So what they taught me is how to create the self-directed IRA. And then I can take my traditional SEP and I could then roll that over into my new self-directed. I'm like, okay, good. So it took about 30 days, maybe 45 days to convert it over. I learned of a bunch of stuff. I never even knew what a medallion what's it called? A medallion notary was. I'd never heard the term medallion notary. Thankfully, I'm good friends with my branch manager at my bank, and I called over there and I asked him, what is a medallion? What is a medallion notary? And he said, oh, I can do it. It's a securities notary. So, most of us know notary, you have to go get a document notarized, and you need basically someone who has a notary, a stamp, and their signature to authorize that Chris Birch and this other party physically sat here and signed these documents. So the medallion is used on the investment world as a security notary, and that medallion, I don't want to say it's not common, but I think most banks probably do have it. And what I'm trying to see if I can get my buddy on here, because this actually leads to the story of what this video is about. Let me see if I can reach him now. Let me check real quick. All right, I mean, that's fine. So back to what I was saying is that I think for many people that are in business and looking for the next strategy, I think I think really what was most important about what I was just talking about is that I felt like I was kind of all alone. And then when I actually jumped out there and started doing my own due diligence and doing my own research, I started to come across like so many different things, understanding that not only could I manage my retirement account, I actually entrusted this same firm, and it was I don't want to call it painful. I didn't understand what it was. So they explained to me that the LLC is an awesome way to ensure asset protection, but it was not a great way for taxes. And I never heard someone explain it to me so simply. And they said, well, based on the US tax code, you can actually fill out a form. It's the IRS 20, I think it's 2553. So me as a LLC, I'm a single member LLC. I'm the only entity. I'm the only member of this company at the time. And you can actually request from the IRS to be treated as a S corporation. Most people would tell you, okay, dissolve the LLC, get rid of that, and create a new S corp and be taxed differently. But what I was just taught and what was explained to me is that no, you don't want to do that because your LLC's been in existence since 2004. So you have 17 years of credit, history, loan longevity. You have all these benefits. So don't get rid of the LLC. Just ask the IRS to treat you differently, treat you as a S corporation. And once again, the Facebook emoji popped up in my head and it was like, boom, what do I do? What do I need to do? So it was very simple. They walked me through the S election. And I think, so I'm not a CPA, I'm not an accountant, I'm not an attorney, but I want to maybe walk through one day, walk through what they did with me. Maybe I can do a reference or put a link in the description or something that maybe you guys can get referred to this this firm. I mean, they're CPAs, they're attorneys. They've been doing it for like the last 20 years. But explaining to me that I could actually operate the same way I've been operating as a LLC, but I'm going to have to change how the corporate entity works. I'm going to have to run it as a S corporation, And the thing to me, I guess, is how do I do it? And we did a simple consultation over the phone. These guys are in Arizona and Utah. They have corporate offices in both. And we walked through a simple process. We filled out the form. We sent it in. About a month later, the IRS sent a letter back saying they are now accepting our LLC as a S election. And, we were able to file taxes for that tax year as a S corporation. So luckily for me, I'm now able to draw a salary, which the IRS deems it needs to be fair. And many of the tax code that I've now learned and researched is the tax code needs to be deemed fair on both sides. People who earn a bunch and people who don't, it needs to be balanced. And I mean, it makes perfect sense. I don't see why it wouldn't be that way. But for me, it was more about the strategy of protecting the entity, protecting what I do, and then operating smart on a tax line. So that kind of brings to the point of what a small business owner goes through, what thought process a small business has to, think about, calculate. And it's not easy, but it is very simple. But it's only very simple when you have the right people that explain it to you and share it with you. I think for me, probably the biggest hurdle was feeling like nobody else knew what I was talking about. Nobody else knew what I was asking for. And having to do what I had to do, I actually had to go out there and kind of almost fend for myself and try to figure out what worked. And it's not always the easiest road. I think a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs would understand that when you have a concept and you have an idea of what you want to do and that idea works and it becomes a business, and then you think back and you say, oh, shoot, I didn't even set it up correctly. That there's a lot of people out here that know way more than me, but they're able to advise me because for the last 15 or 20 or 30 years, they've been practicing this stuff. And it's proven time and time again that this stuff is work. It works. Excuse me. But I wanted to try to see, I'm going to try reach them one more time. I wanted to share with you guys one of the people that I'd call him a mentor of mine. I would definitely jump out there and explain what I was able to do, and a lot of it is attributed to him. So let me see if I can get him on the phone. All right. I guess he's not around, but it's not a big thing. I'll try to jump. I might jump back on tonight. I'll see if he calls back. If not, no big deal. But what I wanted to share with you guys, I'll put it in the video description. One of the key things that I've actually learned in business, especially in real estate, is how to acquire property, how to buy property, not in your name. I'm tried and true. I'm a testament to this guy's success. I mean, I am the testament to my success, but stop putting houses in your name. If you're in real estate and you're buying houses in the name of your company or in your personal name, stop doing it. And tomorrow, my buddy Kris Haskins is actually doing a masterclass on the land trust. And about 2 years ago, I did the masterclass. I bought the doc, downloaded it. I jumped online, the day he went live, and I studied this document. And he says it, but I'm a testament to it. It is so pathetically simple how to fill out this document and acquire real estate, a piece of property, real estate in something that you control. You are the manager of this property. You handle everything, but it's not in your personal name. And tomorrow he's actually going to be doing a master class. You know what I should do? I'm gonna put a link down below in the description to his document. So if you can grab that document before he goes. If not, this video is going to be on replay and replay. I will say that there is a discount. He's offering a discount. What is it? The coupon code for tomorrow. If you get this document before tomorrow's training, the coupon code is TRUST, TRUST. So I'm gonna put the link down there. But if you guys click on that link and it asks you for a discount code or a coupon code, put TRUST, TRUST, and I think it's like 40% off of his document. And then tomorrow at 2:00, he's going to be live. It's a free training. I mean, I don't know who offers this, but when I found Kris Haskins, it was like, wow, like this guy's offering all this knowledge, all of his experience. I mean, there's a couple bucks for the document. I mean, I understood that, and I was more than willing to grab it. But I'm doing it. Like a year later, I've now acquired 4 properties that I control the interest in. We sold one of them in January, but I control all these properties, and I'm not on title. There's nothing about me that's on public record, and I'm able to do the business of real estate and not have the personal liability. And I honestly, I'll be honest, I didn't understand it. I heard him say land trust, you don't have to put it in your own name. And I'm like, well, yeah, but if I don't put it in my name, who's going to own it? How can I manage it or how can I control it? And I stepped back after probably the 10th time watching it and said, wait a minute, that makes perfect sense. I remember probably in my early night, maybe 20 years old, maybe 25 years old, hearing about this quote of the rich own everything. Or excuse me, they don't own anything, but they control everything. So they don't have any personal liability. They're not on title. They're not on the deed of the property, but yet they control it. They control it inside this document that stays, in your house, in your office, whatever. It's a document. It's yourself as the beneficiary or your company as the beneficiary. You find someone that you trust to be your trustee. I would recommend not be a family member, not someone with your same last name, but someone that you genuinely trust. This person is signing on your behalf to buy this piece of real estate and then maybe one day to sell this piece of real estate. But it has to be someone you trust. And fortunately I have a few people that I really do trust that are not family members. They don't have my same name, the same last name. But tomorrow, Kris is going to jump on YouTube. I don't know how I share a link to his YouTube channel, but it's Kris Haskins, Kris Haskins, Haskins on YouTube. And you'll see a live video for tomorrow at 2:00 that he's going to be doing. And once again, the docs below here are the same docs that I bought, 2 years ago. And I use this land trust every time we buy real estate. And he said it, and I've probably been on live with him or something of the sort. It really is pathetically simple. It's like, this land trust agrees to buy this piece of real estate for this much money, and Kris's business has a trustee, and this person's the trustee, and they're going to sign for it, and Kris isn't going to be there, but after he signs for it, Kris is going to control the whole thing. And it's like, wow, it is funny, but So I don't know where he is tonight. It's no big deal. We'll still do what we're doing. Let me see. We got a couple comments. Golden Butterfly. I don't trust the stock market. Yeah. I said that years ago. I mean, what was it? The fall of 2008. I was so inspired. President Obama was just elected president, and I had just bought stock that last summer in GM, and my whole mentality was like, oh man, they're not going to let GM fail. Well, rewind to January, and your boy here lost a ton in the stock market. What else we got? BX Press. In some states, your LLC can be seized, not in South Dakota, Wyoming, Nevada. I don't know. I've obviously never practiced in any of those states. But yeah, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know for sure. But yeah, that's definitely something you would probably want to speak to an attorney within your state that practices law and understands the anonymity and or asset liability of an LLC. But that's a good point. I mean, keep in mind, we're on YouTube. We're broadcasting around the world. So especially in the United States, every state, has their own bylaws that dictate that. And what else we got? Golden Butterfly again. Do you have a separate LLC for each property? No. So we have a separate land trust for each property, right? So there's a new trust. And what I've actually started to do is similar to what Kris Haskins was doing, is I think he uses the address of the property. I use the street name. So if we have a property on Main Street, it is the Main Street Trust, this person trustee. But in the actual land trust document, which is my private document, the beneficiary in that document typically is the same LLC. But the genius to that, to me, is that land trust is a private document. So no one else will ever see who the beneficiary is of that property. My trustee is able to now control all these individual trusts that hold title to each property. So there's 4 properties. There's Madison, there's Dukeland, there's Washington Boulevard. And each of those are its own land trust, but the document that stays in my possession, the beneficiary is currently the same LLC. And that actually, it doesn't matter as far as the land trust, because it'll never go on public record. So I hope that answers that for you. What happens if they get mad at you? All right, so that's what I said, is you really do want to have someone that you can trust, because I think there's a few scenarios where you can actually create documents inside of your business, inside of your real estate business or what have it, that prevents the trustee and actually limits the trustee from certain privileges. But in general speaking, yes, the trustee could sell your property, but there would really be no benefit to him or her doing that, because the beneficiary is going to be you. Because you assign yourself as the beneficiary, or your LLC is the beneficiary. So even if your trustee has authority to sell that property, it kind of doesn't matter, because the beneficial interest is you, and that's the agreement you have. So when you sell the property and title cuts a check, they're going to cut a check in the name of the beneficiary. So I don't think that's a huge ordeal, but I would definitely recommend someone in your area. I know the name from YouTube. I want to say you're on the West Coast, but I would recommend talking to an attorney who's privileged in trust agreements or owning property in a real estate, and just consult with them But I will say from my experience, I've been able to reassign who my trustee was. So the first two properties that I acquired, I had one trustee for both of them. They were both owned in the name of two separate land trusts, but they both had the same person as the trustee. I then tried to sell one property. I did sell the property. And before I sold that property, I actually transferred my land trust document. I transferred who the trustee was. The title company, basically, all they asked for was a copy of the addendum, basically, that we did, saying that this person was trustee when we did purchase it. And we now, as the beneficial interest, the beneficiaries, have now reassigned a new trustee. And the title company had no problem with it. They were perfectly fine. They understood exactly what that is, and how that transaction occurred. Let's see. Have you dealt with properties in which the property is in probate, and how do you handle it? So I actually have one scenario right now. I have not actually fully gone through the probate process. So for those of you that don't know, probate, a simple way of explaining probate for me is that if you have a husband and wife, they're up in age, they no longer are on this physical earth, but they did not have a living will, but there are heirs to the property, which would be next of kin, son, a daughter. And then those people now, in a sense, control that property, but they can't sell it because they're not on title. You then would have to go to probate to get a judge to agree, likely pay, attorney fees and whatnot to get this in order for it. But you would then have to get a judge to sign off because there's no living will. There's no trust document that you could just reassign a new beneficiary to. See my point, that if you had owned it in a trust, you could simply transfer who the beneficiary was, and boom, that person's now the beneficiary. They have authority, so says their trustee, to sell the property. But probate, I'm in Washington, D.C. I live in Washington, D.C. I practice a lot of my investments in Maryland, D.C., and Virginia. But the probate process in D.C., it can be tricky. I've never fully gone through it, but what I was saying is that I have a scenario now. I have a good friend who used to actually work with us. His parents, they have been deceased for probably 10 years. They never had a living will. They never had a physical will documented. They've been paying the taxes on this property for the last 8 or 9 years, and they now want to sell the property, but they're now having to go acquire an attorney to go through the process of probate, to then get a judge to agree that the heirs, the two sons and daughter, have authority to sell this property. So, it's a drawn out process. And that's kind of why I love the land trust. Not every state honors the land trust. I had an experience back in early December that said to me, a title company said to me that I could not buy it in the name of a land trust because the state of Maryland did not honor the land trust. But what it was is that the state of Maryland hasn't ruled one way or another. They haven't ruled whether they do or don't honor it. So I explained to him why I wanted to hold that in a land trust. He understood that I didn't want to be personally on title. I didn't want my LLC or entity to be on title. And they cleared title in the name of the land trust that I submitted to them. He just wanted me to understand that the courts of Maryland have not ruled one way or the other whether they do or don't hold title. And that, I respected that. I appreciate that title attorney for even bringing that to my attention. But as far as probate goes, man, hopefully in the next month, I'll be able to share my experience with how the probate process works. I'm helping, as I said, a good friend of mine that worked for me for years, helping him and his family with their process to hopefully be able to sell their property. What else we got? Oh, cool, man. BX Press. Thank you. No, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. So I will remind you tomorrow, 2 o'clock, my buddy Kris, the man that taught me the land trust, the man. You know what, Kris? You're like a mentor. And I appreciate it though, seriously, because I was searching. I was really looking for stuff. I mean, I've always been confident in business. There's not a lot of things that intimidate me. I'm always looking for the next angle to figure out the best process, the best recourse to do what I do. But this guy, like seriously, like when I saw this video, it was Kris and his guy Eddie down in Atlanta, and they're talking about they don't own property in their own name, and they own it in the name of trust. And I'm like, man, my head exploded. And I probably rewound and replayed that YouTube video 20 times. And then I followed him and subscribed to him. And then he did a class, and he did this master class. And he was like, yeah, just get this doc before, download it. It's a couple bucks. And I did it. Well, actually gives me a great point. If you like the content that I'm actually trying to provide, or I am providing, don't forget, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel. Guys, I'm trying to be Mr. Entrepreneur, sharing the information that I've learned. If I had someone 20 years ago that shared this information with me, I can't imagine how far ahead I would be. I'm not mad at where I am. I'm extremely happy. I've learned so much. But to me, it's like you want to share as much as you can share, and hopefully someone doesn't have to take all those same steps and jump through the same hoops and go to the bank saying that you have good credit and you're bankable, and then the bank comes back and says, oh, sorry, we're not going to approve that loan. Like you've already shown them that you're bankable. So that's the frustration that I've had for years. But tomorrow, shoot, we've been on here like 45 minutes. Tomorrow, 2 o'clock, Land Trust Masterclass. My buddy Kris Haskins is going to be doing that. There's a link below. Get the doc. I mean, trust me, this document is so powerful. Download the document. If you can jump on, I'm sure he'll have a replay of the video, no doubt. But grab the document, because you'll be able to walk with him step by step as he explains it. And when I sat there, I'm watching it like, this is so pathetically simple. I don't know why anyone else shared this with me before. And as I said, 2 years later, buying property, not in my name, not in my company's name. I'm able to buy it, control it, sell it, do whatever I want with it. So, what is it now? Yeah, we've been on here like 45 minutes. So guys, look, my name is Chris Birch. Entrepreneur Strategies is the channel. I'm new on YouTube. I'm trying to get this thing rolling, trying to share as much as I can. There's a bunch of content that I've recorded and posted. I'm going from neighborhoods that I'm investing in, and yeah, trying to do what I can do. So have a good night, y'all. That's all I got for now. The documents are below if you get a chance. If not, watch the replay. Chris Birch, Entrepreneur Strategies, signing off.